In a previous video, we defined a number as a particular amount or quantity. So let's look at that in a little more detail. When we see some number of objects, let's say 3 stars, we can call that 3. And if we get an additional star, we can say that's 1 more, and I now have 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you're first learning your numbers and learning to count, you don't just look at that and say 4. You go, okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't start at 3, say, well, what's the next number after 3? That's 4. Right? That's how we would do it. But when my 4-year-old is learning this, he starts over 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can go back to our 3 stars. Let's make those the same thickness again. And I can then rub one of those out. And I say I've got 1 fewer, or 1 less, right? So we can start over counting 1, 2 once I've erased that picture. Or we can think of the number line, and that's what we want to do the whole rest of the semester. Let's think about lines on the number line. One, 2, 3. So I've got 3 stars. And if I add 1, that's moving me 1 place further to the right to 4. And if I take away 1, that's moving me 1 place to the left to 2. Right? Now that adding and taking away doesn't have to happen where we're already starting with some quantity. And this was a big historical achievement when people first decided that it could make sense to start with some deficit. Instead of starting with 0 stars, like we always start with nothing, we could start with -1 star, and then when I get 3, I don't end up at 3, but I only end up at 2. I can think of this as an actual quantity. And for thousands of years of human history, I almost said American history, for thousands of years of human history, these weren't numbers. That wasn't a thing. Even saying 0 as a number was a pretty revolutionary concept when it was first introduced in ancient India. Right? If I don't have any Ferraris, I don't list my inventory as having, okay, 0 Ferraris, 1 minivan, 7 bicycles, 6 people in my family, but somehow we have 7 bicycles, 0 pickup trucks, 0 limousines. How do you spell limousine? Right? I don't bother with these because if I don't have them, I just don't mention them. I certainly can't have a negative Ferrari, and yet some people do have negative amounts. Right? We own our car outright, but a lot of people are driving around a car that they, in fact, don't have, right? The bank owns the car and they allow you to drive it around as so long as you pay them some payments. An even better example is when you have a bank account, you might have $2 in your bank account, and then you spend $3, and instead of going from -1 to 2, you're at 2, and you go down to -1, right? How do we get to these numbers? We could say 2 minus 3, starting at 2, going down 3, we get to -1. Okay? And how much is -1? Well, it's the same distance as +1, just in the reverse direction. And let's just put that formally here. That symbol reverses the direction of the term following it. So if I have a negative x, I take x wherever it is and go that same distance, but in the reverse direction. If I have a -2, I know the distance 2. I go that same distance, but I spin it around and I go this way with it. And that gets me to -2. And that's all sine numbers are. We're just counting to the right or also to the left. And we have the whole set of these called the integers. The integers are all counting numbers and their opposites. And there's some debate as to whether 0 is considered a counting number. Some people include it, some people don't. But certainly 0 is an integer, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3. And then also the opposite of that, the opposite of 1. 1 in the other direction, 2 in the other direction, 3 in the other direction. I extend my number line out. And going on forever to infinity, and then going on this way forever to -infinity. Those are the integers. So that is a set, a group of things. If I'm talking about an individual number, an integer, it is a counting number, or the opposite of a counting number. So I'll make this more clear. The integers versus an integer.